Now today I'm gonna do what I've always dreamt of, what's always been my fantasy, and that is to combine two of my favorite computers. Well, number one, the Amiga, and number two, the Commodore 64, together working in unison. And specifically, the Paula and the SID, their sound chips. PCBWay do custom high-quality PCB boards suitable for any of your personal electronics projects, whether through-hole, SMD, multi-layered, flexible, or any other requirement you have. They also have a community of enthusiasts from around the world submitting their personal projects, and you can order PCBs related to anything from others in the community. They also have 3D printing and CNC services. I myself am working in a project for a future video, and I'm planning to use their services since I'm impressed with the quality of their PCBs. I've always had that little fantasy that I wish they would have upgraded the Amiga 1200 so that not only has got more channels or more tracks, the second half of it was a SID, so it can have a combined Amiga SID type of sound. But the world became the way it became, and I've left with fantasies, which, to be honest, have given me the inspiration to do what I'm doing now. So today I'm going to connect the Commodore 64 to the Amiga via the MIDI interface and the Messiah cartridge. So this is going to be a mono synthesizer, this Commodore 64 here. Now to add to that, I'm going to use a Thorap SID, which it's got two SIDs in there. 6580, 18580, another dual setup here to add more SID goodness to the mix. And alongside that, that's also connected here via the MIDI interface. Excuse you. I'm gonna also connect the DX7 to this. So add this to the mix with some extra little things, as well as the samples on the Amiga. So yeah, I'm gonna go all out. So I just want to tinker with this thing, to be honest, and see what I can do with it. Whatever I create is whatever I create. Okay, so next morning, and hopefully no more interruptions. I don't see anybody out there, but I'm excited to go more into this because yesterday I came across the Bassline thing. Now I've had the Messiah cartridge for quite a few years, but I didn't explore it too much because I've got so many ways, so many things that I'm doing, including the channel and all that, but I've needed to sort of slow down and chill and explore everything. And I'm starting to enjoy doing everything that I do again. Now on this, I've gone through the sequencer. If you wanna, check that video out later, it's, I'll link it in the description below. I did that quite a while ago actually. But yeah, the mono synthesizer is what I used the most. Now one thing I gotta get used to with this is that you control everything with a joystick. You can use the mouse if you want, but as you can see, I've hardly got the disk space for it. I've got a spare C64 motherboard in case. I might actually modify another case to have potentiometers, so I can, add them on a future video. Now straight away we can see that somebody at Messiah is a fan of the TB303, and of course, great taste, I can see why. It's based on that. By the way, just so you know, this video is not like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a track or not. Sometimes the inspiration comes, sometimes it doesn't. When you're on a roll and it just happens. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to have fun trying. And I'm kind of more fascinated by messing around with everything that I have here. Now, one thing which I find a little bit annoying about these, all these programs, the Messiah programs, the Bassline, the lot of them, is that the shortcuts on them are different. So the MIDI mode on this, I think it should be universal. MIDI mode on this is shift and this up one. On the mono synthesizer program, it's Commodore and this cursor one. So it's like it gets confusing, and it has thrown me a few times, and the space bar kind of just turns the screen off. At first I thought this, I forgot, and I thought the space bar did the MIDI thing, but it really doesn't, and it did my head in why this wasn't working. So yeah, we got Bassline here. Let's kind of create something. Where's that joystick? solid bass, to be honest. I tend to just add a kick drum just as a metronome. So if I'm, this means especially if I'm doing something like starting with a bass line, you know, I kind of just work against that. Now, one thing I have noticed is that with this and also the Polygon tracker, when you have a note that you're pressing like this, the sustain remains on until you press stop. And you, even when you're kind of trying to put the notes in, like punch the notes in onto the tracker, you have to, it'll keep going, sustaining until you put a command in there, like the triple F thing on Octomad. Now I've created like a simple bass sequence. I mean, I suppose in a way it's good because it's like if you want a constant bass to be there, though it'd be nice to have it in reverse. If you want it to linger like that, then to have a command that makes it do that rather than the other way around, to have it linger until you, it's like having an alarm that's constantly going. So with the triple F thing after each note, or whichever note that I don't want. I suppose the good thing about doing it this way is that you can add the character to the bass, and also, as somebody said, you know, in the manual, whoever wrote the manual of the Messiah, something to the effect of if you know what you're doing with it, the SID, you can end up having like Moog-like qualities to it, and I happen to agree. I suppose the way the sustain of the instruments lingers, I can see it as like a block of clay, I suppose, which I can sculpt and craft into the shape I want. Well, just like I sculpted and crafted this bass line, just how I wanted it to sound. Now let's add a little FM quality to this with a DX7. And what sounds are we choosing? Okay, nice so far. Let's copy this block, insert another one, and change the chords slightly, give them higher octave. So turn that off. The good thing about this is if I just wanted to alter the sound of the bass, what I need to do is just go on this thing and stop and just change the parameters a little bit, alter how I want it to sound. So if I go back into MIDI mode and play this. Okay, so somebody on my last video commented that they wished their MIDI interface had a MIDI through port. Well, I understand that, and I've had the same wish because modern MIDI equipment and also MIDI interfaces there seems to be no through port at all. I suppose everything's USB, but there's still some of us who enjoy vintage synthesizers or, the old school 5-pin DIN way. So I got this as a solution. This is a MIDI through by Mindburner. There's the logo, dilly little CRT. Now this thing has a MIDI in here, and there is MIDI out ports, 7 of them. You can connect them all to your synthesizers and the MIDI in there. It's a perfect solution. And all it is just powered by 5 volts, and I got this DC jack barrel to USB to power it. And yeah, problem solved for me. And I highly recommend.